What advice can you give a young person who, or an older person who wants to write and wants to write in Hollywood?
Right.
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 All I did was read script after script after script after script. You start to absorb what it is. You begin to hear the rhythms. You begin to see how the story rises and falls and rises again. So when you talk about today, and you just got to write. The best way to learn it is take your favorite TV shows, take your favorite movies, and deconstruct them. And in deconstructing it, one of the things you want to look for is what's a real story beat. Most people don't know what a real story beat looks like. In one of my classes, this woman was writing an Insecure. And I said, go deconstruct the pilot of Insecure. And so she came back in, I said, okay, tell me the first scene, what was the first story beat? Well, she's in front of her computer, not a story beat. And it's her birthday. Okay, it's her birthday, not a story beat though. And behind her is her boyfriend asleep in bed. Okay, still not a story beat. And she's online and she gets a text from her ex-boyfriend who wants to see her. And she went, oh, that's the story beat. I said, correct. Girl on her birthday gets a text
From an ex.
ex-boyfriend while her current boyfriend is asleep in bed behind her. That's a story beat.
Right.
Everything else is not. It's important. It's going to be used in the play, but it's not a story beat. Deconstruct episodes, deconstruct movies, really challenge yourself and say, what's the story beat? What's moving the story forward? And the minute you hit something that isn't moving your story forward, it's going to be on the cutting room floor.
Like I tell my writers, I didn't invent this. This is structure. You need to know it. I mean, I saw a plethora of old school, current, new school. I mean, I wealth of comedians. I had a front row seat. And what I used to recognize in them, they all had patterns and rhythms that were unique to themselves. And I kept thinking, is that something you learn? Because if you don't know what a callback is, you will. If you don't know what a running gag is, you will. If you don't know what a pun is, what a word joke is, you know, how to do a callback from your first opening bit to your closing bit, how to get all those story points and put them in the last 8 minutes and watch them jump up and down because they're familiar with your material. That's structure.
I try to write a joke a day, and this is what I advise too. Only write what you know, and then what you know, expand upon that by reading something new every day. It could just be one article that you just pull up on your phone. It could be something you want to know about or something that's just right there in the news. Pull up something that's a new fact every single day and try to write a joke behind it. Because at the end of the year, you got 365 new jokes or attempts, and if only half of them were any good, you got 180 some odd jokes that should be semi-valid, and in a year's worth of work, that ain't bad.
I often tell, new writers or young writers, which is the obvious, write what you know, or some version thereof.
Right. Why should they not write about something they don't know? Because a lot of times you go, well, why can't I write about?
You absolutely can. I don't mean to suggest that you can't. In fact, for many writers, that's what it is. Usually somewhere there's a connection to who you are, what you are. Something, even if it's fantastical and has no relationship to your life, usually it comes out in the writing. But that's something you can look at after the fact. And every writer is different as to what their process is. I do a lot of thinking. I would come up with my best ideas when I'm on a trip, when I'm driving, when I'm showering, anything
Away from the
other
computer?
than sitting there at the computer.
If you want to be a writer, you have to write. I see so many people who come to me and they say, hey, I have a script and I want to do the script, and it's their passion project, and I get that. But you have to keep writing. You can't stop. People think that they can get away with 1 or 2 projects or even 3. I wrote a dozen before I just kept writing and writing and writing and writing.
Well, the first thing you have to know that comedy is very subjective, and so what somebody, whoever's giving you the note, you know what, this isn't quite it. I don't really think this is funny. I don't think our audience will get it. Then you have to really go back and think about that audience, and then try to come at it at a different, what did I miss? If I'm doing a show for a church, and this is like a really base example, and the pastor comes and goes, well, you used profanity in it, it's for a church. Well, obviously you go back and you go, okay, we'll take the profanity in it and still make it funny. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
You just have to really know,
the audience.
The truth of the matter is I practice telling my story a lot.
Oh,
Well, I'm thinking of doing something like this, and then I tell the story. And the more I work at it, the
So
more
you're
it starts.
pitching it before you've written it.
By the time I sit down to write it, it can take me 4 years to come up with something, and I
Okay.
can write it in 4 weeks.
Okay.
Keep a piece of paper and a pen, or at very least your cell phone to record. And the reason I say paper and pen is because cell phone can run out of the battery, you can be out of the signal area, any weird thing can happen with electronics or technology. You got a pencil or a pen and a piece of paper, you'll be able to write down whatever you want to,
Yeah.
and it's there.
Part of your task as a writer is write it down. Back in the day, comics used to walk around with tape recorders. Steve Allen was the first I ever saw do it. He talked to the tape recorder more than he talked to people. And then he had his secretary Mary type it all up, and he had cases and reams and files of any subject. Octopus, porpoise, shoes. I mean, you just go to his shelf because he would document all these ideas. Most comics are lazy. They think of something in a car with another comic, it's brilliant. They don't know what, an hour later, they don't know, what did I say? I just intuitively decided that you don't think in incomplete thoughts. Your job is to mind those thoughts. So what I learned at the Writers Guild was what they called the vomit draft. Get it out. Sit there at your laptop, your computer, your hand, whatever, however you want to express yourself. Tape recorder, just get it out. Then go back.
My top 3 are, number 1, be versatile, back to that creative portfolio. Don't pigeonhole yourself. Have a comedy spec, have a dramatic spec, be willing to try different avenues.
I don't care where that joke comes from or where that story turn comes from, as long as it works. It makes it better. So in giving notes, that's the approach I take, which is, okay, how do we make this better? Why isn't this working? Here's where I stubbed my toe on your story, where I stopped being interested. You lost me here. It's really that simple. When I give somebody a script to read, I don't necessarily, what I'm really looking for is when did it stop working for you?
Okay.
When did I lose you? The 10 commandments of writing, I kind of think boils down to thou shalt not bore.
So I tell writers, sometimes you have to write 3 scenes that you'll never use to get past them.
Get it out of you.
Yeah.
Gotta get it out of you.
Yeah, and then that's where you learn how to edit, and that's what Killing Babies is really all about. How to get rid of stuff, how to cut stuff, how to make it tighter, how to give it rhythm, how to give it momentum, thrust. That's what they used to say at the USC Film School. How do you get from one act to the other? Some kind of thrust that you have in your storyline.
You can't be precious about your writing. You have to understand that there are people will buy things for certain reasons, and it has nothing to do with your passion necessarily or your voice. If you go work for somebody else, you have to have be able to emulate their voice for their series so that you can do their show, not your show, their show.
It's your example that you show that I can write, that I do understand what this process is, and I can do it. It's your calling card. It's very important. And it has to be pristine.
Then I just was writing all kinds of spec scripts. And I wrote about 11 of them before I finally got the job.
If you're writing a spec script, then you're writing for a show that's already on the air, right? So all the work has been done for you. The characters have been created, the conflict, the situation, the tone of the show, everything is there for you. But like I said, as a showrunner, I'm killing every week to get a new story. So if you can walk in with a story for me, you have made a sale. That's what I'm looking for when I got all those episodes to do.
If you're going to be a writer, exaggerate. Lie to me. You got to invent. Lie to me, I say. So I always say, never let the truth, your truth, be an anchor. Let it be a springboard. Let that lead you to another story and not be trapped by, well, this is the way it happened, man. It really happened this way. Well, who cares?
Writing is rewriting. You have to rewrite your things. Things don't come out the best the first time around. Maybe they do sometimes, but don't be precious. You have to listen to people and take the best of what they got. I had to learn that on Resurrection Boulevard because I had writers coming to me all the time with ideas, and it was hard for me to let go of my ideas and take their ideas. But like I say, I'm not the sharpest knife in the drawer, but I was sharp enough to know that I know a good idea when I hear one and to put it in my script.
Networking. There's all these organizations and meetup groups that you can get in because it's all about, this town is all about relationships. It's not just about who you know, but who knows you. And I hate that part of it, but it's the reality of what it is. You know what I mean? Every job I've gotten in this industry is because somebody knew who I was.
I always loved reading and I always loved stories. And I loved going to the library and taking books out. And then when school started, I didn't mind English class and I didn't mind reading for school. So I think it started young, but the idea of to be a writer didn't come much later.
If you think about writing more than once a day, more than likely you're a writer.
My teacher called me one day after class and I thought I was in trouble, and he's like, "You're a writer. You have a voice already. It just depends what you want to do with it."
Every writer's process is different. Look, if you get to fade out, in my book you're a writer. If you get to the end, now go back and rewrite.
Have a thick skin, because get used to rejection because it happens. Understand that your journey in this industry is not going to look like anyone else's. So don't compare. Don't compare your work. Don't compare your journey, because you'll stay frustrated and discouraged if you do.